Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the UK Glamping podcast, hosted by us here at Glamptect. This week, we are going to be discussing all things social media and marketing. And with that in mind, we have a special guest, as always. Welcome along, Tallia, founder of Propelling Parrot. Thanks for joining us, Tal.
Hi, Ollie. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be on and looking forward to getting into the episode.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for coming along. So, as we just said, obviously we're going to be having a chat about the importance of social media and marketing of your business, which you would think goes without saying, but tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
So here at Propelling Parrot, we specialise in marketing glamping sites. So whether you've got like shepherd's huts, glamping pods, yurts, kind of whatever it is, we specifically specialise in the glamping market. Our biggest focus for marketing is social media, simply because it's kind of the new way of the world. Gone are the day of the yellow pages, really. So yeah, that's a bit about us.
Fantastic. So yeah, I think you're spot on. Everybody obviously reaches for their phone whenever they're looking at anything now. So you're quite right in saying that you don't kind of reach for the newspaper or book a holiday through teletext like maybe we did a few years back. So marketing is obviously a massively important part of it, driving your own business these days. So why do you think it's so important? How early should people start? Like, where do people begin with you generally?
So I think the real fact is it's never too early to begin marketing. Now, I'm obviously not saying if you're a year away from opening a glamping site, go full pelt and do everything. But the biggest kind of mistake I find that some people often make is they'll build their glamping site, they'll get themselves ready to go, and then they'll start marketing. And
Yeah.
they kind of open on day one, and then they go, "Where's all our guests?" So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of need to have a 3 to 6 month window of runway and leading up to that, ideally. But even if you're like a year away, people like to come on the journey with you and see what's actually happening. So it's very different for glamping sites because you're not a big corporate company that's going, here's 5 glamping pods done overnight because we've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on getting everything done really,
Yeah.
really quickly. We've got this machinery. It's just kind of everyday people. So people can relate to you. So really the best time to start marketing, no matter what stage you are, is now, because it can just be pictures and images of we're starting the groundworks or we're heading down to the glamping show or we're looking at this. It doesn't need to be really intense, but just start building up that journey, I'd always say.
Yeah. So taking people on that journey with you and kind of trying to build that interested customer base. You say up to kind of 6 months before you open, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more people that know that you're going to be there, the more kinds of early bookings you can get. And obviously, you get that opportunity to build trust with people as well before you're open. So they know a bit more about you and a bit more about what's going on. And as I said, they can come along the journey with you and really connect with you in relation to your glamping site.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So how would you recommend people do that? Because obviously, as you said, back in the day, obviously it was radio ads and newspaper ads, but they're they're pretty prehistoric now in terms of kind of up to date marketing. So would you recommend people do that through purely social media, or is it website based as well? Like, what's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, so the early stages, I would always recommend getting active on social media as soon as possible. Obviously, as you get closer to your opening, you'll ramp up the amount of marketing that you are doing on social media. But ultimately, the way that social media acts is to kind of reach the audience that you're hoping to attract. So social media kind of gets them to your page, gets them finding out about you and what it is that you're doing. And from your business social media page, what you then want to do at the later stage is divert them to your website, because of the website is ultimately where they're going to make a booking. So really the two run side by side, because you need to have the social media that's got a strong presence and a good following to bring them in, but then the website needs to be user friendly, really attractive, so that when you're diverting people, you're not then losing them on the website because it's hard to find how to book or hard to kind of navigate your way around.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something we touched on our our last Glamping Academy webinar, which I know obviously you came along to for a little while. So some of our listeners / viewers may well remember you / recognise your voice from that. But it's crazy how many websites we see that just aren't clear and don't have a really easy to navigate setup or a clear book now button. And we as consumers, we're incredibly impatient. So as soon as you try one, if it can't make it work easily, you just move on to the next one. So really important to have that kind of clear website setup.
Absolutely, and I think it goes the same for channel managers. Some channel managers that are embedded within the website, they're actually really hard to use. And again, that just kind of puts blockers in the way. You don't really want there to be any blockers whatsoever to somebody making a reservation and paying you money. Whereas if
Yeah.
kind of your channel manager's not been set up right, for example, if somebody is looking to book a stay, and I've seen this before where it's a 2-night minimum, it doesn't say that it's a 2-night minimum, it just says not available if someone's selecting 1 night. So it's loads of things like that that just cause problems that can really easily be avoided, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. And I think early engagement with people like yourself is exactly what's going to make the difference between those things that you wouldn't even know were necessarily going wrong behind the scenes. You're just wondering, oh, well, why are people not booking during these periods? And if they're not booking, chances are they're not feeding back why either. So yeah, really, really important. You mentioned on the academy when you came along as well the importance of securing social media account names early. So what remind our listeners and viewers what that was all about, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happens is people at the early stages, you struggle, you're thinking of a name, it might be this, it might be that. And sometimes people set their heart on a name. They'll go on something like GoDaddy or somewhere where they can buy a website domain and the domain's not available. And the same with social media. They'll go onto TikTok, they'll go onto Instagram or Facebook. They'll try and they'll try and use the name, to create a profile using the name that they've chosen, and it's not available. And what happens then is people start putting in things like hyphens or, additional words. And you kind of then cause problems for yourself because you're not really easily searchable anymore. So one of the biggest things is when you are thinking about your name, factor in whether the domain and the social medias are available, because you'll probably be quite upset if you've spent ages working it out to find that out at the end.
Yeah, 100%. That must be incredibly frustrating when that happens. And social media is, I think there's no getting around it. It's your shop window now, isn't it? Sure, your website. I mean, your website really is a platform to secure the booking now, rather than a platform necessarily to sell yourself. Because by the time people get to your website, chances are they've already known quite a lot about you in this day and age. So, what else can people do to help kind of drive traffic through their website, through their social media? Have you got any kind of top tips for ways to kind of engage that customer base?
Absolutely. I think at the very early stages, when you are just opening,
Mm.
always try and get a professional photo shoot done or get some content creators in. The reason I say that is because you've spent all this time and effort and money setting up a glamping site to then not get the kind of best images to display it as best as possible is kind of a little bit silly sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
So definitely get a professional photo shoot done at the beginning. Now, something in terms of growing your social media, it's really good to work with influencers. They're always really good at, gathering content and taking pictures and images and stuff. But one of the biggest things to be aware of is when you are identifying influencers that work well with glamping, is to look at their niche. Now, what I mean by that is very easy to find an influencer that says they've got 200,000 followers and she does makeup. That's really nice, but one,
Yeah.
people could be following her from all over the world. Two, makeup is completely irrelevant to glamping. And three, this not your audience. You're targeting there the complete wrong audience. So yes, they may have a lot of followers, but they're not relevant to you. So if you was to then find a influencer that's got like maybe even only 15,000 or 10,000 followers, but they're into outdoors, they're into walking, they do things within your local area that is like nature walks or hiking or, just generally being outside, then people are more likely going to have the right target audience that are ultimately going to book a reservation for glamping. And whatever we do in marketing, the end game is to always get people to make a reservation. So if we go back to the makeup person and somebody's watching from America and you're based in the UK, they're definitely
Yeah.
not making a reservation. So it's
Yeah.
just about getting, the right influencers to work with in that aspect.
Yeah, really good point. It seems such an obvious thing to say, but when you actually boil it down and you go past that kind of surface level of X number of followers and actually think about where those followers are and who they are, it's certainly kind of quality over quantity for sure. I think when you're trying to get that kind of promotion done. So that's one really clever way to obviously try and promote your site, is to get other people to do it for you, which is half the fight if you can get people talking. What about things like running competitions or giveaways? Is that something that has proven successful for people?
Absolutely. So there's a thing that I call a like and share competition. Most people that's listening to this have probably entered them before, where you have to like the photo, tag three friends, and then they have to share it to their story. That's a domino effect. So, for example, if you, Ollie, was to tag me in something and you shared it to your story, and I thought, I want to enter this competition, I'll like it, I'll tag a friend, I'll share it on my story and follow the page. That happens with every single person. So, as long
Mm-hmm.
as you've got the rules right, you can gain like 3,000 followers overnight on a competition, if not more. So they work really well in terms of growing your content, sorry, in terms of growing your platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of gathering your content, there is something else that you can do, and this is quite a unique one that we use quite a lot for NC 500 pods, is setting up something that's called a content competition. So what we do is all of our guests that stay, when they check out, we send them an email. Hey, can you leave us a review? Because everybody wants a review for everything. But can you leave us a review? We'd really appreciate it. And have you entered our content competition? And what that allows them to do is send you any pictures or videos that they've captured during their stay for you to use on your social media. And in exchange, the winner gets a free 2-night stay that's drawn once a quarter. We obviously tag them in it and are very clear, please don't send us any pictures that you're not happy for us to use.
Yeah,
But again, that's given you loads of free content and you're actually only giving away a 2-night stay.
that's a brilliant idea. Yeah. So kind of as we touched on a moment ago, getting other people to do your work for you is massive. The power of word of mouth is never to be underestimated. I think you have one guest leave happy, and they're going to go and tell 5 or 6 people at least about how brilliant their weekend was. So having that, having other people market your business for you is just a no-brainer if you can manage it.
It also builds up a lot of credibility, though. Like, for example, if one of my friends is posting that they've had a really nice time glamping or something, I trust my friend that I'm going to trust that it was a good
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Whereas now it's not just a business telling me it's great; it's a friend or a friend of a friend, that it has that credibility with user-generated content.
100%. I think we can all go and read Google reviews, and they're a good indication of quality, obviously, but there's nothing like a personal recommendation to kind of help set you apart from the competition. That's brilliant. So, what one thing we've found, or certainly I've found on the sales side of our company, is that a lot of the customers who are setting up glamping or have done historically, I think it's fair to say are um, not necessarily millennials, or some of them are the older generation, kind of historic landowners, farm owners, things like that. And something we come up against quite a lot is not necessarily a phobia of technology, but a hesitance to kind of really get involved and grip it by the horns. So for those customers that perhaps are a little bit shy or just don't want to run their own kind of initial social media promotions, is there an option that they can explore where somebody else can come in and help them with it, or is it something they have to do themselves?
Absolutely. So that is actually something that we offer at Propelling Parrot. We do offer full social media management, which is where we basically just run your social media accounts for you. So we arrange the content shoots, we arrange the influencers, we basically do everything for you as though we are you. because there is a lot to it. And I think sometimes people underestimate the amount of time it takes. So it's not just about posting the right content, it's about like engaging with your audience. So you need to be replying to every comment that people leave. You've got
Yeah.
direct messages that sometimes you think, just look on the website where people
Hmm.
will say, do you have
Yeah.
this availability or do you have that? And it's so obvious that if they went to the website, all of the information is there. But sometimes people are lazy and you need to be like, of course, no problem. Let me check for you. Let me give
Yeah.
you a hand. And you just think it's written on the page.
Yeah.
So it can be very time consuming and people can be lazy, that you do actually need to spend a lot of time just repeating yourself and giving a lot of information. But one of the biggest ones, yeah, is the community engagement as well as the kind of posting. Because if somebody walked past you in the street and said, oh, you look nice today, you would probably say thank you. You wouldn't just ignore them. And it's the same thing, like, even though it's online, if people are saying this looks really good, at least acknowledge what they're saying, because otherwise they're just going to think you're rude and they won't want to stay with you.
Yeah, really good point, actually. I think when you look at things like Google reviews and Trustpilot, a lot of businesses fall foul of only responding to the negative reviews. So, a really good point to kind of acknowledge positive ones as well. So,
Absolutely.
if a customer's looking at their social media and their marketing ahead of opening, then you've kind of got all bases covered at Propelling Parrot. So you can come in on a kind of consultancy basis and help educate them as to what to do, or you can actually come in and take the reins off them and do it for them. Then.
Yeah, so we found that when we was kind of starting out and talking to different kinds of people, that some people wanted to be in control and do it themselves and just wanted a bit of guidance and some help along the way. And some people were like, I don't want to touch the social media whatsoever. So it depends what people really want. So we do the full management package, and that is typically for people that aren't really into technology, haven't really used social media, and it's just not really their thing. But then, for example, we do also do the consultancy, which typically is kind of with the younger generation.
Yeah,
Or, for example, if somebody's like, my daughter's going to be running it and they are a millennial, because millennials know social media inside out. So we have that aspect of it where we teach them the advanced steps of what to do. Or in the consultancy, there's also some people that are like, I've got no idea where to start, but I want to do it myself. And we take you from the very beginning. This is how you use Instagram. This is how you use Facebook. Because it just really depends on how much involvement people want and also how much time they've got. Like, if
of
people
course.
are
Yeah,
cleaning and doing whatever else, they then don't want to do all of that and then go and do the social media on top.
yeah. Understandably, that's brilliant that you can kind of much like Glam Protector, a one-stop shop for every level of experience. You're obviously right there on the other side of that coin with the social media and the marketing. So if any of our listeners or viewers are out there are thinking about setting up or just want to have an initial chat, we'll put all of Talia's details in the description of this episode. So please look up a number, email address, get in touch, reach out if there's anything you're not sure about, even you just want to have that kind of initial conversation. But you're going to be running a webinar as well, aren't you, soon, to kind of go into a little bit more detail about everything?
Yeah, so we will be running a webinar very soon, which just kind of takes people through everything. Now, it will be targeted towards early stages and later stages because it's very much the same information no matter where you are on your journey. So we will go from the beginning of, how to identify your target audience and what impacts that may have on your build. So, for example, do you need to include any Instagrammable features? If you're targeting kind of couples, is there anything that you might want to add in the build process or in the pod layout? All the way through to how to grow your social media following. So it really will be a start to finish webinar. I'll hopefully not go on for too long because once I get going, I do sometimes get quite carried away.
That's
But
easily
yeah, we'll
done.
just, tell people everything they need to know on the webinar. We've got a free guide as well that outlines all of it that we can send out to people beforehand if they want to kind of get up to speed a little bit so that when they're on the webinar, they know what's going on. Yeah, just to teach
Fantastic.
people really and help people start off the best way possible.
Okay, amazing. Well, we'll put a link to that free guide in the episode description as well, and we'll also confirm the date of the webinar down there. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're already receiving your emails from Glam Protect, then you will get invited automatically. But otherwise, reach out to one of myself or Tallia, and we can certainly make sure you get an invite over to that. Tal, I think that's brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. Before we wrap up, we tend to ask all of our guests if they've got kind of one last pearl of wisdom or nugget of advice that they would offer to anybody just starting out. So have you got one little suggestion you could share with us?
Don't give up. Consistency is key in terms of marketing. So if you do, something that you think is really great and it doesn't work, try again. Just keep trying because it will pay off. Is my biggest thing. I think just don't give up. Keep at it.
Yeah, really, really good piece of advice, that, because I think it's very easy to become disheartened or feel like you're not as good as the guy over the fence from you, but everyone got there one step at a time. So yeah, fantastic piece of advice. Tallia, thank you very much for joining us. As we said, everybody, contact details in the description. Pick up the phone, tap out an email, and let's see what we can do to help you get started. Tal, thanks
Yeah.
again.
Thanks so much for having me, Ollie. Thanks.
Cheers.